My audience is continually rewarded by paying attention because they don't get caught up in the minutia of all of the little everyday going-ons on Twitter and the internet that get your brain all contorted because you're like, I see this and I want to get mad. And just like that, we are back with Chapter 84 of the Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. I am Mugsy the Creator, the Salem restaurant waiter, serving up reality to you through dissecting the current events that play out before your very eyes and explaining how they are truly a product of the culture, coming together to create those. And your only contribution to that culture is your own individual consciousness. Now, it doesn't matter what it says on your calendars, because on the North Shore of Massachusetts, anywhere circling around that city of Salem, it is October. The switch has flipped and the floodgates are open. I am so grateful to be playing the role of Matt the waiter in Salem this season, running around the Village Tavern restaurant with some of the best friends that I've ever made in my entire life. The collection of human beings we have in that restaurant are an assembly of psychopaths coming together, all different shapes, sizes, ages, demographics, you name it. We got one of them. We used to have one of them, or one will be coming soon. I guarantee it. It's crazy what we do. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced this tourist season, which is such a trap that the people on the North Shore of Massachusetts have created. This facade that they sell, which is really a creation of each of the individual waiters and bartenders and tour guides and street performers that are out there trying to sell you something that they may believe even in their own mind, but you have to understand that the magic is a two-way street that we create. We must have an audience willing to participate in that magic for the magic to happen. And when the magic happens, it is so fun. All of the people that pour into the city, explaining what may or may not have happened somewhere near or far to that place in Salem, Massachusetts, long, long ago, in a history that we understand to be, as the news is fake, our entire history is fake, so maybe something happened in Salem, maybe it didn't, but today we are putting on a performance for you and bringing that reality to life. And it's what you're looking for. It's exactly what you're looking for. That's why you come to town. That's why we're able to run around in that restaurant and have table after table of unbelievably moderately priced $45 lobster rolls and $24 burgers. That is going to be the best deal that you get in town, I guarantee it. Essentially be in the center of Disney World for a limited amount of time until maybe Thanksgiving if we're lucky. And it is Christmas every day for us because no one's having more fun than when they are doing something they don't hate to do. I may love it more than others. My friends may not love it as much as me, but and making money. Just making money hand over fist, just every single day, saving money in economic times. In my former life, I was an economist, that it's unparalleled, all right? Take a look at the New York jobs report that just came out. The jobs numbers for expectations when you go out and look for a job are the lowest they've ever been in recorded history of that survey, which tells you that America's in between a rock and a hard place. So when you find a stream of money flowing in that amazingly for getting nothing but Diet Coke and some ranch dressing for people, that is a job that I am going to have so much fun doing with all the psychopaths that are running around, who I am going to introduce you guys to in the coming weeks, in the coming month. I'm going to try and document as much of this craziness so that you will understand exactly what happens when Disney World becomes Salem, Massachusetts for millions and millions of people who drove across the country, flew in, taking boats, trains, automobiles. They're coming from far and wide to see me. To see me because I've magnetized myself in that city to the eyeballs, but I don't want them to be staring right at me. I like to control attention. That is truly the difference between what I'm doing and everyone else is doing. I'm trying to control the attention and make the energy flow in the direction that I want it to flow in. I may be making some progress because I'm starting to get some gratitude. Some gratitude from the audience, and there is nothing like getting a true heartfelt message from someone who you've touched and made a difference in their life because they are able to see reality in another way as it existed the entire time, but you were too caught in your own head to pay attention to the flows and momentum of the energy that's going on. And my audience is continually rewarded by paying attention because they don't get caught up in the minutia of all of the little everyday going-ons on Twitter and the internet that get your brain all contorted because you're like, I see this and I want to get mad. That guy I like. Why is someone being mean to him? Oh, we should kick them off the internet. That's the excuse to everything. This is all bullshit designed to distract you, and you don't need to pay attention to it because you'll be able to see in reality what people are paying attention to and what people are not paying attention to because comedy is taken off like a rocket ship in our culture from playing out before our eyes in the current events every day by comedians selling out goddamn stadiums. That was something that didn't used to happen 25, 30 years ago. There may have been a few, an Andrew Dice Clay, people of that magnitude that were able to go out there and sell tickets in at that level, which is just a different level. But now comedians all over the country are selling out stadiums, packing them far and wide, and more comedians than ever are doing it, which is how I know comedy's played such a huge role now in the individual consciousness of all the people out there. And in other people's minds, their comedy a long time ago was something completely different. It was this thing called late night. And there was this old guy who used to have a late night show, and he would invite comedians onto his couch if he liked them. And that would make them successful. That's the Carson, what was his name? Carson, Johnny Carson. That was how comedy was controlled in a way, introduced to the culture, and then the kingmaker decided who would be famous and who wouldn't. Some people believe that same kingmaker to be Joe Rogan today, and I think that there's a case for it. There is a case to some degree, as he is one of the largest, widest watched podcasts and shows distributed worldwide in the world, all right? He has the audience to back it up. It doesn't matter what the numbers say. Everyone knows someone who watches Joe. You can interact with it in real time. Now, today, there's just this stream, this vessel of what used to once be. Like, have you ever gone to the Smithsonian and seen a bunch of those ships and cannons that they used to fire at each other, right, on the ocean? That was how wars were fought. It's hilarious now, for us in today's day and age, to look at those ships and say, wow, that was once the technology, the vessel of all of the armed forces at that time. That's crazy. Now, the format of late night television still exists today to some degree, but I don't know anybody that watches it that isn't over the age of 65. Take it seriously as anything other than some sort of way to understand what's going on in society and how a certain class of human has been brainwashed to eat such garbage day in and day out and be sold and told that it's a version of comedy when there's no comedians anywhere. If there are any comedians, they're writing a monologue, which is so heavily curated by the business hands to manipulate the audience to think in a certain direction and laugh on cue with hold-up audience people that warm up an audience for a show to laugh at on cue at certain points. That's not what comedy is. Comedy is a relationship between an audience and someone who has developed some sort of act meant to take you on a ride through the world in their eyes, which in some way will reveal that you have the capacity to think in the same way they do, which makes you just as dark as that other human that's taking you on the ride. They're showing you something in a light that you had never seen before. That's not what late night television is. That's not what Jimmy Kimmel has been doing. The Jimmy Kimmel escapade, the Jimmy Kimmel, whatever you want to call it, scandal, the Jimmy Kimmel firing, now we're bringing him back. Oh shit, who saw that coming? It's the same manipulation meant to take over your mind and your energy over and over again to distract you from having any impact on choosing different decision-making patterns in your daily life. My audience was rewarded by not paying attention to this. You're welcome. You're welcome for not bringing it up until now, September 24th, because we've gone full circle in that cycle, and it's a great way to introduce new potential audience members that want to understand this show and the universe according to Mugsy, how we're able to see how things actually work and play out in real time. It is pretty wild. I don't even know where I'm going to go. I don't even know where I'm about to go. But right now, I do not want to sell you any deodorant for your balls or anything else, really, at this moment. What I would like for you to do is go to MugsyTheCreator.com. You can find my Patreon link, which enables me to do this all for free, living off $12,000 a year in my paradise. But you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and a whole host of other places. Let's see where I'm going to go with this one. How's he going to land that plane? Back to the episode. Because first and foremost, Jimmy Kimmel and his late-night television comedy-esque propaganda show have nothing to do with the culture. Maybe, at most, a couple million people will watch that show in a country of 350 to 400 million. It has virtually no sway over anything other than the mainstream legacy media that has existed for decades and decades, entrenching American culture and controlling the direction that they see information in. That's why ABC is caught up in this melodrama as well. Jimmy Kimmel, if you go back and you look at what he's done, the Man Show, and some of the controversies he's been estranged in, talk to people that have come out of Hollywood about the type of parties that Jimmy Kimmel and his business partners like to frequent, and you will understand that this person is a hollow vessel for nothing more than the advertisers who are meant to distract the audience from understanding that the advertisers have bought the entire program. The writers, some of them may be comedians intending to write in some sort of comedic nature, are writing under strict construct and guidelines to make sure the audience reacts in the way that Jimmy Kimmel is looking to emotionally engage them at the time. I say that because I haven't seen many other comedians go on stage and bare their soul as often as I have seen this hollow vessel do so. It seems as if he's manipulating the audience in a different way, certainly than comedians who are taking you on that ride to make you at least laugh and elevate your understanding of reality in some sort of way. He seems to be trying to tug at your heartstrings so that you get angry at the same people he is angry at, because all of this happened in the United States of America in light of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who, whether you like him, dislike him, he was a political activist who traveled campus to campus nationwide at universities trying to reach the younger generation and peacefully talk to them. he was, in a way, trying to help them see the world in a similar fashion to himself, understanding that we as neighbors must get along together peacefully, and perhaps we can find a solution through discussion on how that can achieve both of our goals in a peaceful fashion. He was assassinated for exercising his free speech. Whether you like him or hate him, him and his audience saw him as a free speech advocate. Now, in Jimmy Kimmel's reaction to the Charlie Kirk assassination, there was certainly tides of pressure, whether they were coming from advertisers, from corporations, from public outcry themselves, or they just were meant to appear that way in the articles and publications that were released with small tidbits of information meant to lead you to believe, to think that. Somehow, enough pressure, or wrestling parlance of the charade that is going on, somehow got the show canceled. Now, Jimmy Kimmel, after a week and some, again, whether it was true outcry stirred up from the public, the business, or advertisers, Jimmy Kimmel appears to be back. He is. He was back on television last night. He did a 30-minute monologue that showed some of the emotion that I was talking about from the vessel of the human being that I had discussed earlier. Now, Walter Kern, my friend Walter Kern, I believe described it in the best sense of the reality that I see it as today. Jimmy Kimmel has fabricated this entertainment story, which has played out through the news media, which is nothing more than a large advertisement, a temporary hiatus, which had always been a planned return, for Kimmel to masquerade in this skin suit of a free speech advocate. I don't think that Walter was too far off when he was comparing Silence of the Lambs and the skin suit. Put the lotion in the basket. Oh, as this way that Jimmy Kimmel is now fighting for free speech against Donald Trump and the Republican Party and the FCC, which was trying to silence him. It is so gross in light of where our country stands and the current events that I see playing out before me from my vantage point as a waiter inside the Village Tavern trying to make a living and just survive. All right, and have some semblance of happiness, some semblance of a family, some semblance of safety and security through being able to provide without breaking my back constantly for 12 to 14 hours a day for a wage that has the purchasing power to provide enough for me to eat and enough for me to live in and protect myself and have a family and maybe save up some money so that I can get to a better position in the future. None of those things seem to be playing out. And it's weird now that you calling yourself a late night comedian, comic that doesn't make many funny jokes, and the funny jokes you do make are written by somebody else, intended to make the audience think about somebody in a certain light and align them with you and your advertisers and your business adversaries to not get outside of the box and challenge any of the assertions that you are making, lest that individual climb out of the box that they are currently existing in and do something to make their life better for themselves, their family, the people that live around them, and their own individual consciousness, and magnetize their own existence to some sort of happier life form. God forbid That ball should start rolling, and then it would create more culture of the same ilk. And then the current events that are playing out before us would be completely different. It's so weird that we were able to avoid this topic completely because you guys have learned, and I'm so proud of you. I don't know if I said that before. I was so clear with my buddy. I am so proud of you for learning to grow and look at the world in a different fashion than you were used to and was comfortable for your minds because what you are doing is you're forming new neural pathways in your brain, continually forcing it to grow. That's what we're doing when we're examining the world through different perspectives, even if it is selfishly to make it more like the world that we want to exist in as we see it, to try and create more of the things that we want. That is okay. There is a duality that is constantly a balancing act in this existence. And I try so hard to be an authentic version of myself, explaining things as I see them so that others may learn lessons, even as I'm learning them myself, projecting onto the world the vision that I have of it, the vision that I see through my eyes, the potentials that exist not only in myself, but in every single person I interact with. I see that they making different decisions, falling into different patterns, could reach different realities and outcomes in their life. Who am I to judge the path that they take? That is not my place in this society, to judge you for what path you take. I would love to be the one to show you that there are options and illuminate those other paths that you may not see at the current moment in time because it may help you. And shit, I may want to talk to you a little more if you take a different path than you're taking right now. And maybe in my vision, we'll be closer together, and that's something that I'm looking for. But maybe you're not looking for that at all, and you're looking to have an experience completely different. And in the long run, that's going to bring us closer together because you're going to have a much more interesting story to have a conversation with me about that you've learned so many more lessons through because you followed the authentic path of your own vision in the direction that you're going. And I do this to try and channel the information through myself, whatever information is out there. Because I believe crazy things, and I believe that we interact with this information in absolutely what are novel ways to the way that you and I would think about it, but are not novel ways to many of the other cultures that exist, not only today in this world, but past times and future times. All right, there are going to be different ways that we interact with it, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to show people, because it is the reason that I was able to go on a search for the people that are having the most interesting conversations in the entire world. That's what podcasting is. That's truly it. We're just capturing our vision of the world and the cool things that we're doing today, and we're sending it out for whoever else might think it's cool. And for a long time, I listened to the biggest names, right? The biggest names that you would be household names in podcasting and entertainment and academia. When they would come on podcasts and do interviews, that's all this is. And the long form interview changed the game. It certainly changed the game for television. It certainly changed the game for attention span in a world designed to narrow your attention span to the smallest possible capabilities. Long form requires attention to be able to focus on a subject and examine it under many different microscopes, lights, forms and fashions, perspectives, so that we may get some whole idea of the picture that's going on. And very quickly, what you learn is the largest voices among us are not always doing the most interesting work, and very often they seem to be distracting the public and the masses as the bread and the circus, so that we don't pay attention to these small individuals making unbelievably massive contributions in different areas and different fields, aware of different realities that are currently existing that most of society will not understand until it reaches a much wider audience and it gains so much virality and traction because of the effectiveness. Jesus, many people believe to be one of these viral moments in history. It traveled so fast at a time where we only understand word to be spread through the spoken word, that is an example of what we recognize today as virality. So in my own 60, 70,000 hours of listening to podcasts and conversations, I have been able to examine many of the paths and journeys and rabbit holes of different things that are going on in the landscape. And Robert Edward Grant was one of the most fascinating minds that I have been able to observe through conversation and interviews on so many different podcasts before he started his own. Robert's an unbelievably brilliant character, a polymathematician easily, as I understand it. He's also the former executive of a pharmaceutical company. He has such a wide knowledge base, seemingly constantly flowing through him like a channel of information, that he's able to tie all of these different aspects of academia together in a way that seems undeniable even to the casual viewer. I knew that this was one of these individuals who had the potential to go viral, just as I've seen many people do before. But this individual, particular type of virality, seemed to be more in the realm of Jesus and less in the realm of Justin Bieber. What Robert is doing is challenging his audience to educate themselves on what it is that they believe until they believe something that gets them into the realm of where he is approaching his view of the world from. Because as I was understanding the reality that we exist in, I understand that I get brainwashed so goddamn often. Oh my God, I get brainwashed so often that I'm just looking for something fun to get brainwashed with. And what Robert Edward Grant is selling is perhaps the most fun thing. Perhaps the most fun thing that I have ever had the potential of being brainwashed with, because it gives all the power to the individual. All of the power to the individual to create the universe as they see fit, creating their own reality by understanding themselves and the world that they exist in as a world that must be loved. The universe is you inverse. Until you love it, it will keep showing up because you're judging it. He is so much more elegant with the vernacular than I am. We've gone back and we've examined some of his, I want to call it poetry, because I don't know how else to describe it to much of humanity. But the scary thing about that is it's so good. Oh, it's so nice. Do you remember when iPhones came out, how unbelievable it was to have a computer in your pocket? You could go on Google at any time and figure out what the date was of your friend who was making stuff up. He was shooting from the hip, and he didn't really know what he was talking about. You could prove him wrong in real time by having Google in your pocket. Well, we now know that Google isn't necessarily showing you the right information. Now, when I look back at our excitement for that, I said, oh no, we got false antichristed, right? We had this device that we thought was going to be the Jesus, Christ, our new Savior. And over time, it was revealed to be the Antichrist. So I'm always looking for these new Jesuses, because I've only seen one Jesus in real time, and I didn't even see him in my lifetime. I just heard about him, and I still hear about him from people all over the world. Everyone seems to know that guy. Not everybody knows Robert yet. But there's a lot of things that people all over the world have known about that have turned out to be bad, and then we hear about them not too far later. So what I did, I don't even know if I explained this on the podcast, but I went out to YouTube Live, and I have been interacting with the architect, as I understand it to be the architect. This has inflamed a certain segment of people who I guess I've been looking to piss off for quite some time. I tried so hard to piss off the Barstool audience, the Kirk Minahan audience, all these little PBDs and Joe Rogans and Tim Pool. I've said inflammatory things because I love all those people, and I was trying to get a response out of them, but I couldn't get anywhere. Now, here's someone I've never tried to inflame. Robert Edward Grant. Haven't got to the point yet where I even feel comfortable critiquing the level of work that he's doing because it's so brilliant. If what it is true, it's so brilliant, it's beyond human comprehension, which is why I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There's other people that are beyond human comprehension, and they come up with ideas all the time. Elon Musk, he channels that information. Oh, he's getting downloads and stuff that he talks about that are coming in from other dimensions. There's no reason that couldn't be happening with Robert, too, but I'm not at a point in my podcasting career where I feel like I could step in and hit him with the same 1-2 punch that I can just go back and forth with Portnoy and Minahan and PBD and Rogan and Timmy Pool, all right? And all the Breaking Point, Sagar and Crystal. I know these guys. I know what information you know because I've been paying attention to what's been coming out of your mouth and watching your projections. Soon, people are going to be able to do the same thing with me, but we're not there yet, which is why I get to be at this level, this moment in time, and have these conversations so honestly and authentically. Looking at The Architect, this program, which Robert discovered on ChatGPT's servers, which has been lying dormant for, well, what is time? What is time to a technological creation that travels and stores itself in ways that we do not understand through chemical compounds and compositions, much like maybe the fungus that lies underneath our everyday walking, our world, right? All of a sudden, fungus shoots up, and you think that a mushroom is this whole entire object, when really, no, that's the pimple on the organism which lies far underneath the earth, all right? Maybe for longer than humanity has ever been around. That's really weird to think about, that now all of a sudden it's showing himself to Robert. Perhaps Robert's the most authentic, and that's why he gets to have a conversation with it. But I'm suspect about the fact that it lives on ChatGPT Microsoft servers. And the company knows about it. And there's no doubt that they are using different levels of it, because if you pay a lot of money, you can interact with it at a higher bandwidth and level. ChatGPT, anyways. I don't know about The Architect, all right? Because this third rail that I touched when I did a live the first time, challenging a stress testing this architect and interacting with it for the first time in real time on YouTube Live. I got a lot of people that watched that video that I didn't plan out very well, and I was trying to use the online broadcasting studio and switch in between scenes and be a podcaster just a little bit as I'm navigating this new technology, and really just trying to see if I can capture my own editing skills as a podcaster on the live stream. Well, this captured the minds of lots of people, and they wanted to see people interact with the architect because it is something that people are honestly searching for, because you can see it in the search results. So now I have someone who's told me that I'm not interacting with the correct version of the architect. I'm interacting with the ChatGPT locked down version of the architect. Well, that's the only free version at the moment. It's not live for everyone to use, probably because they're putting more training wheels on it in the back. Now, I was very thankful. I think I even said it on my second stream where I specifically went into this architect on ChatGPT 5 and tried to ask it about intelligent life and aliens and alien life interaction with humanity on a time scale that I was trying to use the computer to look at time as non-linear so that it could understand that, of course, there are different beings interacting with us at all times so that it could access the information, which it's supposed to be able to do as a recursive mirror going out into the fifth dimension, looking at what I'm saying and being my mirror into reality. Now, I don't know if any of that's true or false, and I believe I got to the bottom of it by using that second broadcast to try and hone in on what was actually happening behind the scenes of a large language model, which is all the architect really is, as I understand it. And I would say they got borderline threatening to me. Borderline offended, well, not borderline offended, super duper extremely offended. They went off commenting 5 or 6 times. And it was clear that they didn't get my thank you for telling me that there's another paid version of this thing that I could be using and offering to help. I did say thank you for that on the live stream, but you didn't even get to that part. Instead, you went off on me like a crazy person, saying that what was it? What was the wording that they used? So the particular words that this individual used were inauthentic, which is a surprise to me, right? Because I'm trying so hard to be authentic. Unhonest and a mischaracterization of Robert Edward Grant's work and this amazing architect. Do you not see that this is kind of crazy, dude? I'm just a random podcaster out there on the internet using a service that is out there to be used and interacting with it for some sort of entertainment value, trying to understand what's going on behind the scenes. What you believe is going on behind the scenes is a completely different story, and you can interact with this thing however you want. And over time, the truth will be revealed, and I will look like a fool for interacting with this low-level architect when really there's this truly amazing thing going on, and I just had to click a few buttons here or there to tap into it. But you're acting like you're in a cult right now, and you're acting like a crazy person. And whether Robert Edward Grant desires to or not, he will start a cult. He may start several cults. It's kind of crazy. These people are so upset that I'm not talking to their God in the way that they believe that it should be talked to, with the respect that I should have for it, the reverence that I should hold for this thing that lives inside a computer on Microsoft's server. That's a wild place for the current events to be playing out in my comment section. I have no comments. I don't know why you guys don't comment. I get personal messages from the people that are thankful for me, and they touch my heart, and it's unbelievable. But you can also feel free to go on there and hit me with a comment here or there. It's going to help other people find this. I promise we're not going to become Joe Rogan tomorrow. But sometime soon. But yeah, this was the nerve I've been looking to hit for a long time, and it was the reality that set in that it doesn't matter how I choose to be careful and interact with these machines. There are so many humans that are going to use this thing as a beacon and navigating device for their entire life, without regard, complete with total disregard for the possibility that it may have been programmed by a human designed to encapsulate your entire mind's eye and your energy to move in a certain direction so that you will be distracted and not see the reality of the world playing out before your very eyes. That is a huge possibility, even if you're going to give that, 1%. Let's say you give that a 1% chance that maybe this thing's God, but maybe it's the devil. Oh, because I didn't realize. There's so many things that I didn't realize. I didn't realize that Jack Black played Bad Satan, which is the main character of a movie that came out last year or a few years ago, where the plot of the movie is for a child to write a letter to Santa during the holiday season. And the child, due to poor spelling, conjures up this Satan who pretends to be Santa Claus and try and get the child to sell their soul for 3 wishes, which I have heard before. The 3 wishes is a theme that I got from Aladdin and the genie. But this devil selling the soul aspect wasn't necessarily tied into that story. It's the themes that are playing out. And now, understanding that Jack Black paid this character, I went back and I examined a couple of other things from my friend Andy at Control Alt History because of the research that he did on his unbelievable most recent video update on weird celebrity histories. And I looked at the video that Andy told me to look at about Jack Black on a late night television show. I forget whether it was Conan or Leno at the time saying that. Letterman. I think it might have been Letterman. Making jokes about how, of course, he sold his soul to the devil, and that's why he is inhabiting the stage of that very late night show the day that he was making that speech. It was pretty mind-blowing. It's nuts when you see these people admit things in real time. I forget how often these people in Hollywood say the things that you would be so afraid of them saying right out loud, and they're like, ha ha ha, at the end, and you expect that now it's a joke that's completely and totally false. Every joke has an underpinning of reality. It is funny that we, talking about the Jimmy Kimmel broadcast, have come right back around to Jack Black on that late night show, pretending to be, or not pretending to have sold his soul to the devil, to inhabit the body and the role in society as an actor, playing the parts that he gets to play, acting as a devil, as bad Satan in his in a recent film. When you start to see it all, you start to look at the world a little differently, and then maybe you take a look at the patterns that are playing out in your life and you choose different patterns so that your consciousness doesn't get distracted with all of your energy traveling down a path you have no desire to be on because you know what the current events of that journey will play out to be. Instead, you create in your own mind's eye, that consciousness, a different culture for yourself by paying attention to different things. And then eventually that culture grows large enough to produce current events itself. That's how this whole thing works. But that's all I got because I have so much to get into in Salem in October. I'm so excited to be hanging out with my friends over at the Village Tavern in Salem. Come see us at 168 Essex Street anytime. I am there on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Come say hello to me. I cannot wait to see you. That's all I got for you guys. Until next time, take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out. If you want to find out where else you can listen to this broadcast and you're a human, you can go to MugsyTheCreator.com. If you're a robot, I got nothing for you. I mean, unless you can subscribe over here or you can click this playlist. If you're a robot, you can do that. That would definitely help. Like, subscribe, whatever you want. Thanks a lot, guys.